Welcome to Straight Talk, where we engage Kenya's brightest minds in the issues facing our nation. Today, we are privileged to be joined by a 2027 gubernatorial aspirant, former permanent secretary, board member of KICC and KEMSA, Mr. Irungu Nyakera. Thank you so much for joining us.
And thank you so much for hosting me.
You've had an illustrious career up until right now. Perhaps tell us what's a highlight for you.
No, thank you very much. I think for me, I've gone through the public sector and the private sector. Started out from New York, where I was an investment banker with Citigroup in Wall Street.
All the way to London?
All the way to London, Canary Wharf, still with Citigroup. Came back to Kenya with NIC Bank, rose to managing director level within the group. Then moved back to London with part of DFID, heading East and Southern African on infrastructure. Then came back to Kenya with Equity Bank as a managing director for investments. And after that, joined government. That was really my entry into government as principal secretary. For transport, I was 33 years old then. Did quite a bit in transport, including the SGR from the beginning to the end. Then was moved to the National Treasury. I was a PS for planning and statistics, and after that, I've held various positions in government, chairmanship. Initially, first as a chairman for national tea reforms, and then chairman for KEMSA, and then chairman for KICC. Okay. On the private sector.
Sorry, yes.
Yeah, on the private sector, beyond now the banking side, most were businessmen in Nairobi and around. So when I look at my career, I see it more as fully, very well understood. I understand both the private sector and the public sector very well. Of course, with that then is also the educational background, which I did my undergraduate at Stanford University in California on mathematics and industrial engineering, and my master's at Oxford University in the UK on business. So that's my background.
Very well-rounded.
Yes.
When I look at your bio, I'm like, what would inspire someone with such an illustrious and profitable private business, encourage him to then step into political life?
When I look at I've always been in positions of leadership. From high school, where I was a school captain, I was a Starehe Boys Center. To university, where I was a student president, and later on when I was with the different positions that I've held. And I always feel that it is us who have to come forth to present options for leadership for this country. And unfortunately, when those who are capable don't present themselves, the ones who are least capable will present themselves with a lot of confidence, and people will elect them.
I think also there's this aspect of everyone waiting for leaders to step up. Yes? But leaders are in all walks of our life. You need a leader in mathematics, a leader in architectural science. You need a leader in every aspect to represent your interests.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we always say there's nobody who will come and pick you from your house and make you a leader. You have to step up and come out and actually tell the people what exactly you want to achieve. And I have a friend of mine called Jim Nambaru. Jimna is one of the formidable investment bankers in town from back in the days with Diane Blair. And Jimna stepped out in 2013 to run for the gubernatorial position in Nairobi. And a lot of people felt that Jimna would be the right candidate. But for one reason or another, Jimna did not make it. So I was asking him, there's a time when we were discussing about the Nairobi and the issues around Nairobi, and he told me, for me, I can criticize Nairobi as much as I can because I did present myself. I presented alternatives, but I was not given that opportunity. So people can never ask me, why am I making noise? Yes, I'm making noise because actually I feel that I had presented an alternative.
So really what you're saying is it's one thing to critique,
yes,
but it's another to really step up
exactly
to the plate of leadership.
But even to critique, you see, when you critique, you also have to ask yourself, what have you done about it? If you're saying that Nairobi is being run poorly, then what have you done? If you're not running yourself, it's okay. But are you championing something? Are you supporting somebody or a cause on somebody that is running? But if neither of those, then you really have no reason to complain or talk, because your one vote is good. But if you can actually mobilize and rally people around a cause, then you're building the nation.
So now you find yourself here, 2027 aspirant for governor. That must inform why you decided or have decided to run.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes, because you see, I'm born and bred in Nairobi. Born in Kamukunji constituency, Kenyago area is a slum in Kamukunji. I went to school from there, and that's how I actually ended up going to primary school at Starehe, because it's just walking distance from where I was born. And I have witnessed the issues and challenges of Nairobi, and I understand them very well. I've been to all these cities, traveled to, I think, over 40 countries, many cities. And when I see that Nairobi is not working, then I ask myself, why don't I then present myself? Because I know what makes cities work. Okay,
so you say you know the issues of Nairobi. Tell us maybe 5 points. What are the issues of Nairobi that you can identify?
The biggest issue of Nairobi is actually a leadership issue. Everything else is after that. Because it's the leaders who shape the direction. It's the leaders who come up with a vision for the city. It's the leaders who put together a team that can deliver on the vision. If you talk about the key issues of Nairobi, beyond the leadership, that the leadership should be the ones that is resolving them. We have issues of settlements. Over 60% of Nairobians live in settlements. These settlements have no access roads, they have no lighting, they have no toilets, or sanitation services. They have no support services for the people living there. They have no public spaces for children to play in, and nobody actually seems to be presenting us with actually the plan.
Okay, we can go into informal settlements. Something else you would want to tackle?
The second one is the issue of transport. Yeah, the congestion in Nairobi. The numbers, the city is growing. Right now we have about 4.5 million people. In 10 years we'll have 8.8 million people in Nairobi. So
double the population.
The population.
Okay.
What are we doing about it? Already we are congested. It's choking the city. And when you talk about transport and infrastructure, we're also talking about the planning around them.
Urban planning,
the
absolutely.
Planning for
construction and infrastructure.
Yes, the construction and the infrastructure around it. We're talking about the sewer. We're talking about the water. We're talking about street lighting.
Okay.
Yeah?
Number 3.
So those are the key. Then you go to number 3. We are talking about issues of health.
Okay.
Yeah? Nairobi, again, we have a nighttime population of about 4.5 million and 8.5 million during the day. So meaning that we have 4 million addition who come to Nairobi during the day who don't live in Nairobi, who also consume our services within health. How do we ensure that Nairobi is still able to serve its populace? We have about 7,800 community health volunteers. How are those people going to be supported to ensure that primary health care works?
Okay,
we
number
don't
4.
have ambulances and fire engines around to be able to service our constituencies, and the sub-county health facilities don't even have maternity wards. In most of them are not operating as 24-hour maternity wards. So the issue of health is a major one. The fourth one is the issue of youth. Yeah.
Okay. Youth unemployment.
Youth
it
unemployment.
Is a budgeting problem.
Exactly. That's why you're seeing that the youth are being used as goons. And yet when anybody is creating a campaign manifesto, we are talking about creating jobs. How do you create jobs? As a county, you might not be able to create the number of jobs that you need, but you can provide the environment that then ensures that people invest and employ the youth. Yeah. And then finally, the issue of business people and businesses in Nairobi. I believe that everyone came to Nairobi to actually earn a living. Yeah. Nobody is looking for anything else. And if people are going to earn a living, how do they earn a living? Most of them are either in the informal sector, the hawkers, the artisans, the matatu sectors and all of the markets and all. And then we have the others who are in the formal sector. How do we ensure that the people who are self-employed and within the informal sector and the others actually are able to earn a living within Nairobi in an organized way and in a way that they feel that they're not being taken advantage of?
I love that. 5 action points that would really transform how Nairobi County works and how the people within the county would operate.
Yes.
How would you then say, you're elected, how do you tackle the issue of youth unemployment? What would you do in your first 100 days?
See, beyond the first 100 days, the main agenda around youth is that we all accept that youth need jobs. That's number one. And as a county, it's really about the partnerships that you can bring in to ensure that the youth get jobs. For us, we are looking at creating up to around 200,000 jobs within the 5 years. You create the jobs directly through the county itself, and the county has a lot that it needs to do.
For example, what would that be?
For example, look, don't even go far. Look at the Langata, the dam. Yeah, Nairobi Dam. Yeah, it was created in the 40s. Yeah, was supposed to be a reservoir for water. Now it's a dumping site and a mosquito breeding ground. Yeah, and it is still owned by Nairobi County. Those are some of the projects that we will take up immediately. Yeah, so that it's restored, it's rehabilitated, and they're connected to Nairobi Water and Sewage Company. And that who will do that? Of course, it's the young people and the youth who will be given the job to do such. And it's not just one. If you look at the issue of garbage around Nairobi, yeah, it's huge. Nairobi has become the face of filth. Yeah, if we reorganize how we deal with the issue of garbage, where we start from actually the resident estates, yeah, where the youth and youth groups are set up as CBOs, yeah, where then we offer them sheds. Then they start from segregation of waste at the beginning, where, and because waste is wealth, yeah, you can imagine the kind of opportunities, the green jobs that you can get because of the recycling. So the opportunities are there. How do we get that, especially for the youth? It's first to come up with a team that understands the issues of youth. Myself, I pride myself in being a manager, not necessarily a politician. And by being a manager, it means I'm able to put together a team that can deliver on a mandate. Yeah, and when we think of the young people, the youth should also be leading such efforts. When you're talking of youth, you're thinking of the digital economy. What is it that we are doing to uplift the young people on the digital economy? We need to have incubation hubs within every constituency. Incubation, and where the young people are able to actually come in, present their ideas, have people who are helping them even to refine their ideas. We are moving into digitization. We, as a county, we need to create enough apps for digitization. We have young people who actually are able to create such apps and monetize on them. So we need to actually look at the young people as not people who we should take advantage of by making them goons or people who can beg for food and handouts on a daily basis, but people who we partner for us to be able to build this county together.
So you're talking about not only just empowerment of the youth, but also allowing them to partake in how the development of the city progresses in order to help them progress.
Absolutely. It's their city. It's their city, and they are the future for this city. And that's why we have to bring them in as stakeholders for us.
Okay, as a gubernatorial candidate and hopefully maybe soon to be governor, waste management in Nairobi is a very challenging issue. We see when it rains, the city turns into an entire mess. And that's generally based on the fact that we have poor waste management systems, poor generally, there is a need for the overhaul of management of waste management in the city. What do you think you would bring in that is new from what we've seen currently?
You know, the biggest problem with wastes are cartels. There are cartels within the waste structure. And we deal with cartels. We've dealt with them before. Yeah, when I went to KEMSA, people were telling me, there's so many cartels there, they'll kill you. And I went there, and within no time, I had dealt with the cartels. Okay. When I remember when I was PS for transport, when I wanted to overhaul Kenya Ports Authority, KPA, I was told the cartels will not allow me to step in Mombasa. I stepped in Mombasa. We fired enough people there, and we changed things around. So even this garbage system and the network that is there in Nairobi, we have to dismantle it. It's
interesting because on your 5 points, corruption wasn't on there, but it really is a symptom throughout all of governance in Kenya, destabilizing the system as a whole.
I usually have 6 points. Financial management is a 6. You only ask for 5. And corruption.
But corruption should be number 1, truthfully.
Each of them, I feel, is important in its own way, because even if you fight corruption and you don't fight for the people, then it does not make sense. So
you said cartels.
Yes.
And then we can link it into corruption. How would you then fight corruption within Nairobi County? Because it is very rampant.
Corruption is fairly broad in that we have the corruption within the system. If you're talking of revenue itself, the leakage of revenue. Personally, I believe that Nairobi collects about 40 billion shillings a year. We are only able to account for 14 billion. So there's a 26 billion that is stolen.
There's a leak somewhere.
Leaks. And the controller of budget actually says that Nairobi should be collecting about 60 billion. And I believe we should. So should we, the key thing is really how to seal those
How do you fight that? You are elected. The Nairobi electorate gives you the mandate to solve their issues. Number 1 being corruption. Where do you begin?
You see the beauty, my party leader. I am the patron for DCP party in Nairobi. And my party leader is Rigathi Gachagua. And a few weeks ago, Rigathi talked about the leadership that we want to elect in 2027, not just in Nairobi, but nationally. And we say that the leadership we elect should be people who have a track record for us to look at. We should not elect somebody who's been very private. We have no idea who they are. And when you look at the track record, it's the one that should speak about whether or not what my stand is on corruption. From my days in public sector, which is over 10 years now, you have never had me in any scandal. None, 0. At transport, my budget per year was 190 billion every year. I handled the SGR, I handled LAPSET, I handled the airport expansion, I handled the port of Mombasa expansion, and there's not one single case of corruption. When I was the chairman of KEMSA, again, everybody imagines that KEMSA procures scandals, because that's anybody who touches KEMSA before me was always ended up with a big scandal.
A money-making venture. Yes.
Exactly. I was there for 2 years, not a single scandal.
But you see, the thing is, it's not about you personally. You might be very morally above the fray that's going on in Kenya. But I think corruption, many of us think about it as 200 million here and 200 million here. But there's also somebody who asks you for tea and facilitation, small things for regular people that can't be done without some version of help. How do we fight that when somebody is asking for 10,000 shillings for a transaction or 5,000 shillings? How do we tackle that vice?
But corruption is actually about the leader. It's the tone at the top. What's the leader saying about it? Not just saying, what are his actions around it? Does he speak about it? Does he live what he speaks? Especially on issues of corruption. And I can tell you, when a leader does not live the way by the standards that they have set, then everybody below them will be corrupt. And unfortunately, if as a governor, I take 1,000 shillings, and people know that I've taken 1,000 shillings, the people below me will take 100 shillings. But because they are a lot more than me, that 100 shillings will end up being 1,000,000. And that's how you lose more money than even what you, as a governor, for example, took. Yeah, because then you lose the moral authority to speak against corruption. And that's why, for me, it's really about the tone at the top.
And that's also a critique when we move to discuss about business within Nairobi. Many people talk about the enforcement of business permits and whatnot. Doing business in Nairobi is very challenging because people will come in, somebody wants lunch here, facilitation there, despite having the requisite permits. How will you ensure, as a governor, that you make business within the city friendlier for business owners?
I started out by telling you that I'm a businessman. By being a businessman, I understand how challenging it is to run a business. And I understand the sacrifices business people have to go through to actually see their businesses succeed. For us, it is about making the ease of doing business, improving on the ease of doing business in Nairobi. And the first thing is really about the permits and the licensing. If you make it so difficult for people, then you discourage people from even expanding the businesses. And if they can't expand, it also means that they cannot create jobs for our youth and our young people and the residents of Nairobi. I've been looking at even the number of permits that exist in Nairobi and the licenses that are required. And you'll find that, yes, they've been talking about they have a single business permit and that it has collapsed all the permits into one, but that's not true. You still need a lot of permits. You need that single business permit, you need the firefighting license, you need the health and safety licenses, you need the veranda license in case you have a veranda in your building, and you need a whole array of licenses. I'd collapse all of those into one. And two, you find that the kind of fees that are required when you collapse all those is too high for any business, especially if you're thinking of a restaurant, where they have all this health and safety and all these licenses that are required. So if you tell someone, pay 50,000 at the beginning of the year, as your fees, and that's the same time you're taking children to school and all this, you'll find that a lot of them will either find ways to bribe somebody.
And that facilitates corruption as well.
Exactly.
Yes.
Alternatively, I can tell you, yes, you owe 50,000, but you'll be paying 4,000 per month for the next 12 months. It's 48,000. You see, that way you make it easier for people to do business, because in any case, we'll need money every month. And by doing so, you'll make a lot more people to be compliant, because then they understand that they're supporting the business. They don't have to go behind your back. They don't have to try bribe somebody, because this is now money that they can afford. So essentially, for me, I feel that to support the businesses, I'll need to have a serious engagement with the stakeholders in business. But the most important thing is that everybody needs to feel that they are part of Nairobi. They need to feel that they are needed. And I keep saying, we all have to fit in Nairobi. Nobody is leaving Nairobi.
That's a good point when we talk about informal settlements. Yes, we all have to fit within Nairobi, whatever pay scale or pay bracket you fit in. And people who live in informal settlements have found themselves on the outskirts of this Nairobi we talk about. How do you tackle them?
So the informal settlement, you have to deal with it in many ways, in different ways. First of all, as I mentioned, about 60% of Nairobians live in informal settlements. And sadly, too, they occupy about 10% of Nairobi, of the land, which is, Nairobi is about 172,000 acres. So you're talking of them only occupying about 17,000 acres. And we have to find ways to do even upgrading the residences. I lived in London for quite a number of years, and we have the council flats. You know, when I look at the current affordable housing scheme plans, where we are saying that we've built houses in Mukuru and they are going for 1.2 million shillings. So
who's buying them?
Who's buying them? And certainly not the people in Mukuru. I know very many people buying them, but they don't live there. They're buying them to rent them out to these people. So, but even the rent that a private individual will ask for would be way more than the person.
So what you're saying, the affordable housing scheme as it is envisioned right now doesn't cater to those who live in informal settlements?
It doesn't, because they can't afford it. When I was the PS for transport, we are the ones who put up the housing schemes along the railway line in Kibra. And we moved about 1,000 people into those housing units from the slums, because we wanted to clean up the railway line. And those people, you could tell that they are truly appreciative of that move. And their rent did not change much. If you're paying 3,000, you end up still paying about 3,000. But you're paying 3,000 and you have water, you have electricity. Of course, you're paying for those separately. You have a running toilet. You see, you're actually dignifying these people. And that's why I keep saying about Nairobi, we have to find a way to give dignity to each resident of Nairobi. So
if the affordable housing scheme isn't going to do that, you as Nairobi County Governor, what will you do for informal housing, those residents who do live in informal housing?
That's what you see, if you look at what Kibaki did, he did the slum upgrading scheme. The slum upgrade scheme was not about people buying the houses. It's about putting in money to collect revenues and the people pay rent. And that's possible and it's doable. And we have enough, I'm an investment banker. We have things called REITs. REITs is something that real estate investment trusts, which you can even be listed on the stock exchange, whereby you raise enough money to be able to put up structures for these people, for the people in the slum areas. You upgrade for them, but then you're collecting rent from them. And
so from what I'm seeing, or from what I'm hearing, the affordable housing scheme as envisioned currently isn't something that's going to upgrade Kenyans as a whole?
It won't, at least it will not cater for the people in the slums. And the slums, the people in the slums, they're growing. The numbers are growing. Today, Kibra is 400,000 people. Mukuru is 300,000. Korogosho is 150,000. Mutwini is about 100,000. The schemes are there. There are many and they're growing in numbers. As I told you, in 10 years, we'll have doubled in population.
So what do you do on your first 100 days to improve the slums? What would be your agenda?
The key agenda for the slums in that period is more around the things around public, the sanitation, which means putting up the toilets and showers. And these are actually the ones that are run by young people, the youth. And by that, you already cut by more than 70-80% the incidences of transmittable diseases, the typhoid, cholera, and all those that you get from lack of water. Then pushing in to have water kiosks in all these settlements. Then
clean water
access. And with tokens, I actually want every family to get about 60 liters per day for free that they can be using in their households. Then issues of access, the roads, access to the slums and to the informal sectors, informal settlements. And then street lighting within these areas. have the street lights so that people, the economy, improve in security, the security, and also ensure that the economy can continue working beyond 6 o'clock in the evening.
That requires intentionality in terms of development of how these informal settlements go. And that hasn't occurred up to date. How do you enforce such a system?
You need empathy. I grew up there. Yeah, I grew up in the Kenyago slums. I've been there even since then. And I think once you have been there, you understand how undignified the existence is there. And being a child of the slums myself will be more of what can I do to actually uplift the people living there, because I understand the life there. I've lived it. Yeah, so there's what we call the will, the political will to get something done. If you want something done and you have the resources to do it, you'll do it. You'll prioritize it. I saw a governor whose interest was actually just having a chapo machine, and he got it delivered. Yeah. And so it means that if that money was for something else, for cleaning up the streets, for having street children get housing, he could have done it.
Okay. So the issue of unrestrained development, yes, applies in informal settlements, but also translates throughout the rest of Nairobi. We are seeing a lot of growth within the capital city in a manner that is beyond what was envisioned for the capital city. How is there a way to reverse that? When we see boundary to boundary developments, when we see buildings and flats beyond 25 floors, which was not envisioned within Nairobi originally, how, as a governor, do you reverse the effects of that kind of choice?
You can't reverse that because the city is growing, and that's a fact. But you can look at better planning. Nairobi is the seat of the national government, which means that we cannot build Nairobi on the resources of the county. You have to build them on the resources of the national government. And that's why, as a governor, you have to work very closely and partner with the national government. If you're talking about sewer systems, you can, Upper Hill, Kileleshwa, Kilimani, all those places, they're single dweller houses. So the sewer system that is there is for single dweller.
Doesn't facilitate exactly what is going on.
It doesn't.
At the moment.
So, and the county government does not have such resources to be able to put up a new sewer line. But the national government does, and the government understands the importance of the same, but it has to come as a priority from the county government. If you're talking of water, the size of the water pipes that are bringing water into these places will guarantee you that for the next 10 years, you'll be having water bowsers will be in business. Yeah.
Within that line, then, we've had, there's been a lot of conflict between county government and national government in terms of the management of Nairobi County. What would be your approach in tackling, as you're talking about infrastructure development, dealing with national government?
I don't see it as a conflict because the functions of the national government and functions of the county government are fairly well defined in the schedules of the Constitution. And it's more around the governor of Nairobi appreciating the role the national government will play in his own development agenda and the promises he's made to the people of Nairobi. And with that realization is then for the governor to partner much more closely with the national government. When you're talking about infrastructure, for example, Nairobi has highways. Those are under Kura. Nairobi has more streetlights than the county can be able to fund. Nairobi has sewer lines that cannot be funded that are under the Ministry of Water and Irrigation and Sanitation. So the county has to be very deliberate in their partnership and workings with the national government. Unfortunately,
that's where politics comes to play, right? Yes. Let's say you were to succeed in 2027. You are a party member of DCP, governor of Nairobi. The president is from another party. And of course, political alliances and allegiances then come to play. How would you navigate that to ensure there's no stagnation in the development of Nairobi? Because it feels, as a person who has lived in Nairobi for over a decade, Nairobi is a very stagnant county. There is not a lot of growth that's been ongoing, and politics has really played a role in ensuring that that stays as is.
Luckily for me, for 2027, both the governor and the president will be from the United Opposition Coalition. So we'll be on the same side. But my thinking is that even if that is not the case, which is highly unlikely, then the governor for Nairobi has to realize that the agenda that they have for the people of Nairobi is bigger than his own political agenda. And if we are all working towards re-election, you have a manifesto that you give to the people. And if you do not partner with the national government, if you don't work closely with the national government, then you will not resolve anything. Yeah, so I think those are things that a leader makes decisions on. At that point, decides, what do I get from working with the government? But by working with the government does not mean that you're necessarily abandoning your seat and where you are in the opposition. For example, for us, I remember when I was a PS for transport, and I'm the one who founded and started NAMATA, the Nairobi Area Metropolitan Transport Authority, that brought together the 4 counties around Nairobi for purposes of decongesting Nairobi. The chair for NAMATA was positioned to be the governor of Nairobi, who at that time was Evans Kidero, who was in opposition. And yet, Kidero realized that this NAMATA is very good for his county, for Nairobi. And he attended every meeting I called. And he participated, and he ensured that he championed NAMATA, even though it was me who was on the other side of it. So you just have to understand as a leader that you don't fight everything. There are things that are good for your people, and you have to work with them.
I like that you raise that, because as Kenyans, we have a very good way of, we can meet about anything, talk about anything. The smartest people I've met are Kenyans, right? We can talk about decongestion of Nairobi County and public transport, and yet nothing ever seems to change. What would you do about that?
It takes time. Change takes time, but it comes. If you talk of NAMATA, you're seeing now Ngong Road has a BRT line that is coming up. It's taken time because we passed the NAMATA bill in 2016. Mm-hmm. So it's only 9 years later. And it's really about who is championing it. And I can tell you, after I left that seat and moved to another state department, it lacked the champion, because I'm the one who started it and I'm the one who championed it. What
else would you implement in terms of congestion and public transport infrastructure within the city?
You know, the studies show that a city should have BRTs only up to about 7 million population. Mm-hmm. Nairobi already has about 8.5 million daytime population. So immediately after the BRTs, you need a rail solution. Without a rail solution, then you have no, you will not be able to.
So what's the solution?
So the rail solution is actually having, and we had put it as part of the bigger, broader master plan. We have the 7 corridors from Langata Road, Ngong Road, Waiyaki, which also is part of the Limuru Road corridor. You have Juja Road, Thika Road, Mombasa Road, and Outer Ring.
And what would occur within those corridors?
So with the BRT is to ensure that each of these corridors actually have the bus lanes. Mm-hmm. And the bus lanes can also be used as pull lanes for people driving in pulled vehicles like taxis and Ubers and the others can be able to use those lanes. With that also you bring in the park and ride, which allows people who are driving to be able to park their vehicles in designated areas and take buses from those areas, in particular into the CBD and central areas like the Upper Hill, Kilimani areas. That then with that, then you have less vehicles moving through the key roads, and you also do not have issues of parking within these areas.
Very ideal policies. Again, the issue comes in of cartels within the public transport sector. So yes, you have great policies, but once you get into office, it's very difficult to implement.
It's about the political will. It's about, if you want it. In 2016, I can tell you, I pushed for us to have the digital paying systems, the Beba card, if you remember, for paying the ticketing in the buses. Mm-hmm. And I pushed it so hard that we were almost at the point of compliance, but then elections were around the corner and the president had to call me and tell me to slow down on it because of an election that was coming. But I know how to push, and I know how, if I do believe in something and that it will help bring change, because those cards are going to bring order in how we administer public transport. No money for bribes for the cops. Yeah. So a lot of people didn't want them, mm-hmm. but we almost got them. Mm-hmm. Only that the election, if it was like 4 years to an election, mm-hmm. we'll have achieved it.
You almost highlight a psychological element to where we stand right now.
Yes.
That it's almost as if, as Kenyans, we don't want better for ourselves. Because you're talking about a policy existing that would have changed the lives of 8.5 million people within the capital city, and yet somehow it's never been implemented. How do we change that mentality?
You see, as I mentioned before, it's really about the tone at the top. Mm-hmm. It's about the person
the head and the neck.
The head and the neck. Mm-hmm. Whoever is sitting on that, who is occupying that big seat. If it's about the nation, then it's the president. If it's about the county, it's the governor. So if those people are not willing to make hard choices to deliver change and deliver development, then nothing will change. And we have to be very deliberate about it. The leadership has to be very deliberate about it. I can tell you, people want change. It's just that they feel that they don't have the voice to bring about change. Nobody wants to be in traffic for 2 hours, but they look at it and say, what can I do? Yeah, I can't do anything. There are people who we pay to get us out of this traffic, to get out of this mess. People want to go to hospital and get medicine in the hospitals, but they don't. They're told to go buy the medicine in the pharmacies. It's not that they don't know what they want. They do, but they don't have the voice. So it's the tone at the top. The leadership has to be able to deliver that change that people want.
If I come to you with 30 million shillings and I tell you, go this, sorry. Because really, leadership is for sale at the moment, but that's a conversation for another day.
I can tell you it's not always for sale.
Okay.
There are people who actually can stand for something. And I remember when I was the PS for planning, and you remember the issues of Aror Kimorer. And I was brought money, 200 million. Mm-hmm. And I have an affidavit at the DCI on the same, whatever I'm saying, so it's not just fake stories. And I was just supposed to sign for the dam to be built. And I refused. Yeah. And the rest is history. So I think people are built differently. It's about, what do I want in 30, 40, 50 years? Will that 30 million of 200 million mean much? But in 30, 40, 50 years, if actually I see a rail system in Nairobi and I'm the one who championed it, and my children can say that Dad, my grandfather, did this, which one will actually be more fulfilling for me? Certainly it's the development and the change.
How do we encourage that in more people? Because most people will take the 30 million. Most people will take the 200 million. We've heard of people taking 10,000 shillings, especially our legislators. How do we encourage people to be more patriotic in their duty towards our country?
Is by rewarding such actions. If somebody does that, they should be protected, because people always feel that if I'm a whistleblower, if I do the right thing, I'll be victimized. Because even for my case, I had to actually ensure that I've gone to the DCI before they went to the DCI and go give my records, because I knew that the other people who will try to completely change everything. Yeah. So, and two, you don't need everyone to do it. You just need a few people to make those steps. To date, people still talk about Gethongo, yeah, and his whistleblowing, and how much money did he save us? Yes, yeah, but it just needs one person to make that step. But again, as everything else, it's the tone at the top.
It's very scary because as we head into the elections coming up, there's very little confidence about the IEBC and the kind of role they will play. How do you feel? Are you confident about the upcoming 2 years?
We'll test that with the by-elections that are coming up in 2 weeks. We have about 17, quite a number of by-elections, and where the government has decided that's where they're going to play their politics and their optics. So we will see how IEBC will handle those by-elections. And based on that, then it will tell us whether we should be worried or whether we're in good hands. I really do hope that we're in good hands. I know some of the commissioners, I know the people in IEBC, I know they mean well for this nation. I just hope that they can actually make it happen and deliver just systems that can give us the right leaders, than the leaders that Kenyans want.
And there's also a further debate about campaign finance and how much people spend within campaigns and how we tackle that. You're about to go out against several monsters. DCP, you have ODM, very interested in Nairobi gubernatorial elections. I'm sure UDA will be as well. How do you fight a beast with unending mileage and money?
You see, the campaign financing had been put in place. The regulations, I think, took long to come, but it's very difficult to monitor, especially for the incumbents, when you're fighting against an incumbent, because an incumbent is using public resources. The president will be running in 2027. Don't imagine he'll be using his own money. He's been having meetings at State House, printing money, State House. Yeah. So why will we limit the opposition while the government is actually doing that, is spending as much money as they want? So I think we have to be fair, even as we try to bring in equity, we have to be fair to everyone. Campaign financing is about how much money an individual is able to spend. But for me, I still believe that Kenyans want to be given money during campaigns. They want tokens, they want handouts. I won't be the one to change that.
So you're okay with
I don't like
contributing to the culture of handouts?
I don't like it, but I'll be part of it.
Okay. Yeah. Those who can't do, or those who can't preach do, I don't know what the phraseology is, but you're saying you don't have to change it, you can just partake.
I'll partake. We'll change it when we're inside, but for now, we're on the opposition side. So we'll go with what people do. We'll campaign the way people campaign. We'll do politics the way people do politics. We'll not change it.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Back to Nairobi County. Climate change is something we've seen be a very prevalent part of the debate. And we see the effects. A little rain in Nairobi County and everything comes to a standstill. What sort of policies do you see yourself bringing to the forefront to tackle the effects of climate change within the capital?
The flooding in Nairobi has nothing to do with climate change. It just has to do with poor administration. we all know, the governor knows, and his Green Army team know that our drainages are clogged. Yeah. When it's not raining, they should be unclogging them. They should be preparing.
But if we spend all our time uprooting all the trees within the city, we now live in a concrete jungle. That is a symptom and the result of poor governance policies, is it not?
True. No, I didn't mean that climate change is not important and real. No, it is. But I'm just talking about the flooding itself. Okay. And so the flooding is symptomatic to those actions of poor planning in terms of where the settlements are, poor planning in terms of not having proper drainages and not even unclogging the drainages. That's why and then on the issues of the environmental conservation, I think that's important. Nairobi used to be one of the towering beacons on areas of conservation. And thanks to Wangari Maathai also for helping us with the carbon sink in the Ngong Forest, Karura, and all the others. And we've been seeing what has been happening with the cutting down of trees. Especially under this administration, where the leader of the administration is a botanist, so he should know better. But I think for issues of the flooding, I think the county has to be held accountable. It's really up to them to ensure that Nairobi has proper drainage. I need to hear the governor talking about drainage day in, day out, especially now that we have we're in the rainy season. He needs to be telling us what exactly is the county administration doing to ensure that we don't have to acquire boats.
Okay. What about tree plant? We see a lot of tree planting. Many people complain about the jacarandas. There used to be a hashtag jacaranda propaganda. Nairobi used to be known as a green city in the sun. There is very little green in Nairobi County at the moment. It's almost a concrete jungle. Yeah. How do we restore our green spaces going forward, especially when you think about the next 50 years? What do we want our city to look like?
One is on planning, and but two is also on the public spaces. A lot of public spaces have been grabbed in Nairobi. As I mentioned, 60% of the population live on 10% of the land. The public spaces, which used to be parks where our children used to go play. I remember even when we were living in the slums in Kenyago, we actually
there were always parks.
Had a big space.
Yes.
That we used to find people coming to put up there in the morning. They're sleeping there with tents. And then by afternoon, they've been kicked out because it's public spaces.
Do you then reclaim that land as governor of Nairobi? Would that be something you'd be willing to do?
Yes. There's what can be reclaimed. And one of the things that I will champion is actually a digital land registry for public land. I was in Kariobangi, South, about two months ago. And I found children playing by the rail line. Mm. And so I was asking the residents there, because I was meeting the community health volunteers. I was asking them, what happened? The train will be there, the other children are playing by the roadside. And I was told, no, our park was stolen. Yeah, they used to play there. So they actually know where it is. And we will go after whoever grabbed that land. I saw the governor of Mombasa the other day demolishing a building, very big building, about 10 stories and above, because it was sitting on public land, grabbed land. We'll do the same. You know, the population of Nairobi, I've told you, will be doubling in the next 10 years. And there's no new Nairobi that we're getting. So where will our children play? Our children will be getting rickets. There's no space even for them to enjoy some sunlight. Yeah, so there has to be a very, very decisive actions by the governor, especially on public spaces and public land, and reclaiming it.
Like you say, you lead from the head, and the neck must lead.
Yes.
And you're willing to proceed with that.
Yes, willing and ready.
So you have previously run in 2022 in Murang'a County. You say you now want to run in Nairobi County in 2027. Why the change of constituencies?
In 2022, I ran for governor of Murang'a County because I was working very closely with the people of Murang'a on issues around the farmers. Actually, I ran on Farmers Party. And at the same time, I was the national, the chair for the tea reforms. And I was also in the coffee task force. So it meant that we worked closely with them, and they felt that I can champion for the issues a lot more. And that's actually how I ended up running in Murang'a. Of course, my mother, who was born in Murang'a, and after my mom passed away when I was only 8 years old, while I continued to go to boarding school in Nairobi, during the school holidays, I was going to my grandmother in Murang'a. So that's my history and tie with Murang'a County. So, and essentially why I ran there. When we are looking at 2027, I'm looking at where do I feel I can bring about the most change? Because of my exposure and the global exposure and having lived in Nairobi for the longest, I feel that my leadership can actually add more value in Nairobi than in Murang'a. I am a Nairobian. I've been raised and bred here. I know the issues of Nairobi. I keep hearing people talk about New York and London. And I'm saying we can bring New York to Nairobi. We can bring London to Nairobi. The only reason we don't have New York in Nairobi, the only reason that we do not have London in Nairobi is because we don't have the mindset of New York.
And political will.
Yes, and the political will, the mindset and the political will. And once we bring that change, even if I don't do all of it, maybe we'll start something that will make Nairobi a great place.
Okay, so within your change as well, you say you were on the Farmers Party, and now you are now part of what?
DCP.
DCP.
Yes.
What inspired that change as well?
You see, DCP is led by Rigathi Gachagua, the former DP. And he inspires me in many ways, in particular for wanting to speak truth to power. And the realization that for you to bring about change, you have to do things that might make you unpopular with some people, but they'll make you popular with the right people. And he decided to speak the truth. He knew that he would end up being impeached, but he did all the same. So when I'm looking at the change that I want to bring in Nairobi, I realize that I'll be sitting on the wrong side of very many people. I'll be sitting on the wrong side of cartels, on the wrong side of people who want to carry out petty crimes and offenses within City Hall, people who want to steal the revenues of Nairobi, people who just want to be there and do nothing. But I'm willing to take that chance and actually make it happen, just so that we can have a better Nairobi.
As the governor, you would have the mandate to influence the manner in which some education policies are run within the county, including the school feeding program. How would you put your own personal spin on that docket?
For education is not devolved. The only area of education that devolved is the ECDs. But the children are still ours, even if education is not devolved. And I'm a big believer of education, because I am where I am because of education. I believe that education is a big equalizer, is what actually makes the children of the poor people and the children of kings to sit on one table. I remember I was classmates with Fahad Al-Sud, a prince from Saudi Arabia. And
in Stanford?
At Stanford.
Okay.
And I arrived at Stanford the year Chelsea Clinton was graduating from Stanford. So myself, I've just come from a village here in a slum in Nairobi, in Kenyago. And I'm sitting with a prince from Saudi Arabia. And that's education. And we have to really, as a county and country, to put in a lot more effort and emphasis on education.
But when you pay attention to what and the direction in which education and the discussion around education is in Kenya, there seems to be a concerted effort to water down the quality of education for our children. How would you influence that?
I've spoken to a lot of the academics and the teachers and people who have been involved in the curriculum setup. And I feel that the direction the education system is going is actually the right direction. It's the direction the world is moving towards.
You're a believer in CBC?
I'm a believer in CBC. When I went to the US, I felt that I knew a lot, but I knew a lot of everything. Yet some people who were doing very well knew very little of everything, but specific areas. They knew so much about very few things. Yeah, like you'd find somebody who just took advanced mathematics and advanced physics. They didn't do CRE, they didn't do history, they didn't do. So the things and areas that they felt they are not good at, they dropped them much earlier. Of course, there are things that have to be sustained all the way. Issues of like mathematics and sciences. Even if you don't take the hard sciences, for purposes of analytical skills that are required for you to actually achieve, make simple decisions across life, we need to ensure that those remain. Things like the mathematics, a bit of sciences, life sciences, those have to be there. But then if somebody is not good at mathematics, you don't need to take them to advanced mathematics. They don't need to know kinematics. They don't need to know this advanced algebra. But then maybe they're also good at arts, social sciences. Advance them in that area, because you don't need to be everything. If you are a doctor, you need to be good in biology and mathematics and chemistry. Yeah. Mm-hmm. If you are to be an architect, you probably didn't need a lot of biology to be an architect. So I feel it is going, the curriculum itself is headed in the right direction, but we need a lot of education for the parents so that they feel that the children are not getting something of inferior quality. Mm. And also there's a bigger role that the parents have to play in this, and you find that these parents sometimes don't even have the resources to do that. So it's really within the county itself, administration, to see how do we bring in partners to work with us at the counties to uplift the level of education in the county.
Mm-hmm. So under your administration, then the county will work towards a way to, despite education not being part of your mandate, to support parents and educational institutions.
Absolutely. Of course, education is part, especially on the CBC, on the ECDs for nursery school. But also, if you look at primary school, why do people drop out? They drop out because they have no food. They didn't eat anything at night, and at school there is nothing to eat during the day. So you also get people are kicked out for small fees that parents are supposed to contribute, and the county and the parents have nothing. 100 shillings. I was with parents whose children have been kicked out because of 300 shillings. So as a county, we would work with our different partners to understand the challenges our parents are facing, and we'll bring in partners to ensure that no child is left behind on areas of education.
For you, should you be elected governor of Nairobi, what would success look like to you at the end of your 5 years?
Success will be a re-election. Mm-hmm. And it will not be a re-election on the back of promises unkept, but it's the promises kept. And the re-election will mean that we've decongested Nairobi, even if not fully, but we have started the process of decongestion. Decongestion also means that the stakeholders, like the matatus, feel that they're heard, their voice is heard, yeah, and that they're not being forced to do anything, but we're bringing order with them. Success will look as business people. feeling that they are not being harassed by Kanjo. They feel that they actually have space to actually conduct business. And when I say business people, I mean all of them, including hawkers. Yeah, the hawkers have space in Nairobi too, just not in front of someone else's shop. Yeah, but they also deserve to be in Nairobi. We have about 28 back roads in Nairobi that can be set up for them with sheds, with cabro, with lighting, with sanitary toilets and all that, where they can actually be able to operate from. It's from young people feeling that the city is theirs again, where they can find employment, where they can be able to create. It's from Nairobians feeling that the health system is working for them, where we have upgraded hospitals such as Pumwani Maternity to be a model maternity facility, Mbagathi Hospital to be a level 6 hospital but run by the county, and ensuring that all the 17 sub-county hospitals have proper labs, have maternity facilities for the mother and child, and they actually have pharmacies that are functioning. It's actually in seeing that we have restored issues of planning. Yeah, and whenever we have slight rains, people are not worried. It's looking at issues of security, and security is on technology, CCTVs, street lights. Yeah, that's actually what will ensure that we actually have security.
I think, yes, you have a very good point, because there's some areas in Nairobi you go to where the city works. Yes? You wouldn't even understand why anyone would complain. Nairobi can be a very well organized city depending on where you live. And there's other places where that just does not exist. And there needs to be a greater equalization as to how the infrastructure of the city works, not just for the wealthy, but for all of us.
We will reorganize Nairobi into boroughs so that the county does not operate from City Hall, but it's decentralized to the other parts of Nairobi. And usually the boroughs will probably go the same way as the sub-counties. So with the boroughs, it is the one that looks at the development and prioritizes development within that borough, is the one that works on revenue collection within there, is the one that looks at incubation hubs and for young people, is the one that looks at issues of education and health facilities and how they should be reorganized. So essentially you decentralize City Hall with boroughs. So that's the way that then you guarantee that development goes all the way. Then there's the issue of the MCAs. MCAs are elected just like the governor. MCAs are representatives of the people just like the governor, and we have to give them their space. We have to work with the MCAs, ensure that we do give them the ward development fund so that they can be able to deliver for us the key, the ward level priorities. And I know once if the MCA is able to get development to his people, then those people will be very happy with their governor. So I think that's how you really devolve the issues at the county all the way to the ward level. Even when you come to public participation, the forums should go all the way to the county so that people feel included and they're part of the system for the city.
Okay. I think one more thing before we wrap up, I'd ask you, Nairobi County has been the center of protests over the past year and a half about. We've seen KDF posted on the streets. As the Nairobi County Governor, you would then be the boss in charge of some of these decisions that would go on. How do you handle this? Goons on the street, protests going on. Do you agree with some of the decisions that have been made?
I'll tell you what I'll not do. I'll certainly not bring goons to burn people's businesses. I'll not bring goons to fight with the people of Nairobi in the streets. You see, demonstrations are completely enshrined in the Constitution, and people don't demonstrate because everything is going well. People demonstrate because they want to be heard. And as a county, we'll certainly protect their rights to be heard, but also protect the interest of the people of Nairobi.
Would that position still stand if the protests were against you, for example, or your work as the governor at the time?
it will be by the time protests are against you, it means that you do not have enough channels to reach to the people. You're not communicating to the people and with the people. For me, it will be about the open door policy. And when you organize Nairobi into boroughs, for example, you have your people who are bringing you the proper priorities. Nairobi needs a manager, not a politician. As a manager, I'll actually be spending time in the office as well. I'll be spending time with stakeholders. It will be an open door. Yeah, somebody is representing street families. They'll come and tell me about issues around street families. And you see, as long as people feel that you understand their problem, they'll not revolt against you. The problem comes when they feel that you're not listening to them. Then they'll force you to listen.
So if there was ever a point where it says, Irungu must go, what do you do?
I'll come and listen to them and ask them, why should he go? Yeah, and they'll tell me he should go because of this and this. And I'll tell them, okay, allow me to change. Yeah.
I think you want to, you let the process and the system work as envisioned.
Yes, because the Constitution is there. It's what guides us. If we don't respect the Constitution, then we don't respect the country. And I always tell people, please remember that table's turn. You might be on this side today, but you'll be on the other side tomorrow. And if you condone just harassment and breaking the law because you're on this side, when you're on the other side, what will happen?
Okay. Many young people have a lot of voter apathy at the moment. Why would I vote? My vote doesn't matter. And not just within a presidential level, but throughout every position or every seat that we'll be voting for in the next year and a half. How would you encourage somebody, a first-time voter, even a second-time voter who feels as if the system isn't working? It doesn't represent what I want.
You see, it's all about civic education. I think we need a lot more civic education than we've been doing. And that's why, for me, I support the efforts and works of the civil societies to bring about civic education too. It's also good that now we have social platforms. Social media has brought the civic education closer to the people. Today, I talk to young people and ask them, did you vote last time? No.
No.
Had you attained the age of voting last time? They're like, yes. Will you vote this time? Yes. That's what I'm getting from young people.
I hear no often, yes.
I hear yes. The only part I hear no is when I ask them, are you registered to vote? They say no. Yeah, so there's a call to action for them to register, but a lot of them actually feel that they have a say. The demonstrations that have been happening are not in vain, because especially like the Finance Bill 2024, demonstrations showed people that the power is with the people. And once people realize that they are the ones with the power, then the next thing is to take action. How do you take action? Vote. There's absolutely no other way for you to pick the direction that this country can go beyond at the polls. And also, you're vocal enough as a young person to change the attitudes and the opinions of people around you. If you feel that the direction that your opinion is better than theirs. Everyone, of course, has their own opinion, but you can always work towards bringing people towards a common opinion that leads to a better Kenya. So for me, I will encourage young people to take the future into their own hands. I was in one of the hospitals the other day to one of my supporters had gotten a baby. And we had gone there to celebrate the baby. And I realized that this baby will be there in 2100 plus. Yeah.
Wow, it may be 70 years old, yes.
Yes, 2100, they'll only be 75.
Yes.
So in 2120, they'll be 95 years old.
Wow.
So it's highly unlikely that we will, it's actually not possible that we'll be there in 2100, some of us. So it means that this country is not ours. we're only keeping it and holding it for future generations. So once we realize that, then maybe we'll take the right actions to bring about change and be the change ourselves.
Thank you so much, Irungu Nyakera, for joining us this episode for a discussion on the state of the nation and most especially Nairobi County. We need to take action, in your words, right? Stand at the forefront of the development of our country. We may not be here in 100 years, but our children will be, and our great-grandchildren and our grandchildren as well. And it's to take heart in the system of governance and its success. Thank you for watching Straight Talk. I'm your host, Yvonne Chege. Join us again.